Welcome everyone to the Postgame. Matt and I were just discoursing a little bit about why it sucks that all these wackos are moving to Austin. But
Yeah, that's not a slight at Danzig, but generally.
I was saying like Danzig, whatever. Honestly, I was even saying to Matt, and this might piss some people off, like the Rogan thing doesn't bother me as much as what Rogan attracts. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Rogan sucks, but it's like this is also like a town of Alex Jones, right? You know what I mean? It's like he's fun. At least Rogan, like
He fits the bill,
he's
sort
fun.
of.
What am I saying? It's eccentric stuff. Joe Rogan is just like a lot of Yankees who moved to Austin anyway. Honestly, like it makes sense. Kind of weird, kind of hippie guy with insane political positions. But I can't stand all of the people that Joe Rogan's bringing, and not that Terry Black, for people who are local, is some kind of like hidden secret or anything like that. People describe this barbecue joint, Matt, as like the Mercedes-Benz dealership of barbecue, where it's like it's a big operation. It's not the best, but you can go in and get out and have a good time, right? And so I appreciate it for that. It's like an easy place to take people when they come to visit. They want to have barbecue, and you don't have to wait in line for 2 hours to get it. Anyways, because Joe Rogan has been pumping it lately, anytime you go there, it's just all bros who are, in town for, the weekend. And they're like, this is Joe Rogan's favorite barbecue place. So it's definitely going to be the best. And it's a very funny favorite barbecue place. Cause again, as I was saying, it's like, it's an industrial kind of barbecue joint. I think it's good. But it's not like your bespoke secret, joint. It's a big ass building.
I mean, I would trash all those people, but I also think that when I moved to Brooklyn and went to an Italian restaurant just because the lead singer of The National said it was one of his favorite places, like I'm not exactly free from sin in this regard.
Joe Rogan sucks moving here because he's a rich guy and he's pushing people up. I don't want anyone to get too mad at me, but like out of all the assholes who are like pumping up the city, there are way worse people than Rogan, I think. At least for like who they're attracting, because I don't know.
Well, Elon Musk is one of them.
Trouble. I should just stop. No, Elon Musk is even worse, man. I was reading a piece for last weekend's show. This is a post game. We're fucking around anyway. I was reading a piece in Texas Monthly last weekend about what he's doing down in South Texas, and one of the worst parts of like it's good journalism. It's like very artistic, so it's like first person journalism, and one of the subjects of the store are these like two guys who are like super Elon Musk fans from like California and Toronto or something like that. And, they love Tesla. So they just were there to check out the Gigafactory, his big truck factory out here.
Mm-hmm.
And they met each other because they were just two weirdos standing outside the factory, just like checking it out. Right. And they're like, they kindled a friendship. And they were both going on about how like, I think I have to move to Austin so I can be a part of the future. And it's like, no, that's the kind of thing I don't mind. I mean, I do mind.
That's so like cargo culty almost. Like you're gonna
for sure. Are you kidding me?
Like stand outside of the factory
of Elon Musk to travel. Wait, it's bad enough to drive down here because they both drove. In Texas is far south for both California and Canada. They both drove across the country just to like, not to meet him, not to do anything, but just to like watch from afar, his shit. And then to think that like, I'm going to move here and kick out a nice little family, make it even more unaffordable. Devastating stuff, man.
Wow. That is dark. I think like Grateful Dead, but you like imagine traveling to a Tesla factory for any other reason than to document labor violations.
Yeah, I think that's a bad idea.
Like to just look and like in there's where the future is being made, man. It's like,
did you see any of his thing, his SNL thing?
I did not. I haven't seen SNL. Did you?
No. I mean, I only saw the most brief thing. Oh my God, I apologize because I know her. Who is our friend from True and On?
Liz Franza.
She had the best tweet, I think, about the SNL appearance, which was just a picture of Elon Musk wearing the Wario outfit. And she's like, when we explain to people like later, like when all this stuff blows up, like in a couple of years, when the Elon Musk like whole thing falls apart, we're just going to remember this image as like an example of, well, she did it so much more succinctly, but like, that image of him as Wario is going to be like a moment where people are going to say, how the hell did we not realize that this was BS from the get-go?
It is really, just transparent, like, that truck factory in general. You look at the bulletproof glass demonstration where they just chucked like metal balls.
Dude, those trucks are ugly.
They're ugly.
They're really ugly. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I think the Teslas look good. You know what I mean? It's like a nice car.
You see them on the street, yeah. You might.
Whatever. It's not my favorite thing, but like I see, it's like, okay, that's like a nice car. The trucks just look horrible. I'm sorry. Like,
no, they look like. I think Jesus had the best joke about this, which is that they look like a Nintendo 64 truck. Like, it doesn't have enough polygons.
They're
to, like,
blocky. Yeah, they don't have enough like aspect ratio to like do a proper truck.
Yeah, it's like it's too much polygons in like the hubs and stuff that we're just gonna do like that. Was like, yeah, you draw that's if you're gonna draw a truck with a ruler in 6th grade, basically.
Yeah.
And then
before
I was just gonna say, like, on top of the complete failure in Las Vegas, that should, like, this shouldn't just reflect on Elon. This should reflect on all of the politicians that just roll over for Elon every time he asks them to do something, and he overpromises and underdelivers every fucking time, and just turns it into a commercial for himself.
No, he's amazing. The guy from The Big Short, I think, is taking a big position against Tesla stock, by the way.
Oh, the guy who wrote it?
No. The guy who's like the main guy from it, who figured out that the mortgage crisis was going to happen, is taking like an insane, like a huge position. I think around like $500 million or something like that against Tesla stock in the year of 2021.
Yeah, like I don't want to pretend like I've done a deep analysis on the Ford truck electric vehicle thing. I will say I'm rooting for it to knock Elon Musk out of my fucking attention.
Sure. No, dude, I was texting my boy the other day and we were like laughing. It's like Elon Musk makes us all cheer for like like these shitty American companies.
Yeah,
you're just like, I can't wait I hope Chevy and like and Dodge and Ford are just able to kick this guy's ass.
I mean, come on, boys, let's do it.
But wait, one more thing before we get to some of the stories we have lined up. A quick update on the person who's trying to get my mom to buy a shitload of cryptocurrency.
Oh, right. How did that?
We talked about this last week. Thank God my mom, again, we don't have any money, so it's like insane for anybody to be coming at us in the first place. But somebody was trying to get my mom to buy a bunch of Bitcoin on Mother's Day.
Which, as you said, was a sign.
Yeah, which is, as I said, exactly, was a sign. When somebody's come up to my like lovely, sweet mother who's like just not very online, telling her to buy Bitcoin because it's a sure investment, should be a sign that there's a huge bubble. Well, that person has not, everyone knows obviously at this point that it just collapsed. Not only has this person not walked that back, but they're not even more fervent that my mother buys Bitcoin because you can buy it for real cheap right now.
I love that. Like, as a worker, Sean of Antifada had a great pair of tweets, which is like, because it was quote tweeting this one guy who said, "You think I'm selling? I'm never selling," or whatever, and like all that stuff. And it's like, these people will sell you all of this stuff based on the currency, that it's a currency, but they'll treat it as if, because they know deep down it's a speculative asset. So, and then this, Sean's second tweet was pulling out $1 out of my wallet and whispering to the moon before every transaction. Like,
I love that, man.
Like, and it's so funny, right? Like you have such a conflict, a contradiction between our Doge army. We're in this together. Come on, everyone, hold, right? To the point where like HODL, hodl, like is like the meme for holding on to this shit.
There's some really bad raps, like white boy raps about hodl.
Oh, really? Wow. I need to look.
You might need to find that a little bit later. What hodl stands for, like hold, don't sell.
Yeah,
What is it?
well, it's something like I think it's just like it's somebody trying to say hold but spelling it too fast that they spell it hodl.
Dude, put this on for a second. Let me send it to you.
Is this the Chris Rickard hodl gang?
I don't know. I'm sending you a link.
Okay,
Maybe. Yeah, Chris Recker, Huddle Gang. Yeah, put that on for a second.
gotcha. Here, all right, folks.
If you think this is the future, because we honestly, hey, also like, I'm just gonna put this so no one gets super mad. These are technologies, and they can be used for very interesting things. There's a lot of really smart people who have a lot of hope in what these kind of blockchain can do, and I don't discredit any of that.
yeah, that's
But
my
very
trip.
clearly, what this has been from the get-go has been an extremely speculative asset that people, because it benefits them and they need to convince people that this is some kind of revolutionary future technology,
Yeah,
keep on trying to sell to us. And all you get time and time again, as Matt was just pointing out with this, the how people sort of act at one point, how this is supposed to revolutionize transactions, but also personally are treating this as a speculative asset. Should make clear to you that it is exactly that. It's just a scheme to make some money that has serious environmental damage tied to it as well. But yeah, put this on because this is pretty good. I haven't seen this in a while.
And things like it is the equivalent of the red pill.
Oh, can I hear the sound?
Oh yes, give me 1 second. Sorry, folks. I'm just gonna include David here. Yeah.
This is a technology, it's a computing language, and I can build an app on it.
Is Bitcoin the...
I just want to say, like, before the other point I had, like, to say you're investing in this shit because of the underlying technology is like saying I'm investing in pets.com and etoys.com and diapers.com because I really think this .com stuff I'm really sold on the promise of it. Like,
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know. Come on, folks.
No, that's a good point. It's like, this is a technology, and obviously there's stuff that's going to happen with it, and that's positive. But you're obviously investing in a very specific aspect of it, which just happens to be one of the most speculative assets of the modern age.
Which people are so motivated to talk about this like revolutionary shit because it's gonna like occasionally get like a mom on Mother's Day to throw like $300 toward it.
Currency of the future?
Crypto gang, it's the game, big gang, all gang, light gang, cash game, blockchain. Whoa, I don't really ever buy stocks, man. No. Haters wanna say I'm in a bubble, man. No. Chew them up like bubble gum. No. Just made a meal with my pocket change. No. Wreck about to go and join the huddle gang.
Oh my God.
Huddle gang, huddle gang, huddle gang. Crypto gang, it's the game, big gang, all gang, light gang, cash
God,
game,
is there
blockchain.
anything
Whoa,
worse,
I don't
honestly,
really ever
than
buy
like
stocks,
white
man.
boy,
Haters
like
wanna say
nerd
I'm in a
rap?
bubble,
It's
man.
like it's one of the
Chew 'em
biggest
up like
blights
bubble gum.
on culture. In this
Yeah,
country.
it really is. Like I'm pretty convinced that white people can really only rap if it's kind of funny. I think this is true of Eminem. And I watch this funny show on Dave on FX. Have you
Yeah.
watched Dave?
No, that's such a. I'm just laughing at your point that white people can only rap if it's funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I was watching Dave, I'm like, oh, a show about a white rapper, but then he started rapping, and his entire persona is based on comedy. It's like, okay, this is how you do it. Like, you gotta, and the
Well,
serious
it's like
stuff is-
Macklemore, man.
right? Exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it's just like, come on, man. Yeah, chew them up like bubblegum. Yeah, that it's funny. Like, I wonder if that whole hodl gang, if lock gang,
How? I mean, I'm sure the Huddle Gang's they're in their hovel right now.
yeah. We don't have. Okay, well, that reminded me a lot of the Not Even a Show lock gang. But anyway, that must be a very a template for rap parodies.
Chris Records. I'm just trying to see how he's been reacting to the drop. Let's see. Here we go.
Oh, this is.
Oh, he's off Twitter. He's off Twitter.
Who is this?
Hasn't posted since the rapper, this guy, this boy.
Oh, hodl gang guy.
He hasn't tweeted since March 2020, so we don't get to see the live reaction to this.
Let's see some of the replies. Who's still hodling in 2020? See, oh yeah, this is so amazing, right? Like, I just want to put up some of these and I'll read them for you, David. But like the way people talk about this, it's so clear that these people are all just trying to speculate. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
right? But like they should, and I think they don't even know it almost. Like, see you
No,
at
they definitely don't. They
Yeah.
don't. They don't get.
like see you at $1,000. Yo, who is hodl after the brutal 50% correction? See you at 100K. Like, man, it's sad. This is sad. It really upsets me, honestly.
So I know we have our sweet boy Dave Rubin, who we're going to go to first. But while we're on the subject, do you mind pulling up? Could we do the what's the Instagram account? I can't remember the name of it right now.
Oh yeah, give me just 1 second on this.
'Cause this is some good stuff. I will say, if anyone else wants like a little bit of a treat while Matt's looking into this, check out Chris Records' YouTube channel. And look, dude's got more subs than us, so I don't know how, he's got some videos that got 3 million views. So
Look, if he wants to debate,
I don't know how much
about,
we can dunk on the boy, but it's very funny. He has playlists called Music for Entrepreneurs, Entrepreneur Speeches,
Oh fuck yes, we need to.
whatever playlists.
How mu-
I guess only the two.
How many subs has he got?
55,000.
55. Okay, so this is fair game then. Like, if it was like 15 even, I'd feel like a bit hesitant. But 55,000, I mean, I also think
I'm sorry. Nothing makes me more angry. Sorry to cut you off, but like nothing makes me more annoyed with American society than the fact that there is so much capital in this country that just complete morons can find a way to tap into it and enjoy like a look. I'm 100% being envious on this shit, but I'm also saying it's exceptionally stupid that a bunch of morons out here get to like live the highfalutin life in the United States because they live in like the center of empire and the center of like exploitation. That there are lots of ways to make insane amounts of money in this country.
Yeah, one of the, I think it was Nomiki Konst that had a story about. Oh no, this was New York Times. I think Nomiki talked about too, but making a crypto utopia in Puerto Rico. All these like basically like borderline fash or like crypto, also libertarians if you want to call them that, making all this money speculating this shit. And then buying up Puerto Rican land. It's really offensive, honestly. It's disgusting that America also allows, I mean, and the entire like Airbnb economy, right? Like this just allows, because what you see in the smarter Bitcoin people, the people who aren't like buying the line about promising technology, you see people say what you need to do is convert that. I forget what the slang they use for land. But you need to put that into land because that's the real asset, right? Duh. Like that's what I would do if I was given a whole bunch of crypto. But it's like that's who is buying land in this country. You got Bill Gates on the one hand and a bunch of guys trying to offload cryptocurrencies.
Oh yeah, man.
And it's really like, and I heard I think it's David Trierre had an article, I don't remember where, but in how we should just give over national parks to tribes for them to administer. And definitely I'm on top of that. But we should also give tribes every single piece of land owned by Bill Gates and every other billionaire and millionaire. Like that's where we can start to give land back, I think. But
I love it.
yeah, should we move on to our buddy Dave now?
Sure.
All right, so here's...
Wait, do we not have the Instagram thing?
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot all about that. Yes.
I just don't want to leave
luxury.
people hanging because this is really good. I don't even think we're going to spend too much time dunking on it, but we just want to share this gem.
No, people will be familiar with upscale luxury. It's the Instagram account that keeps me coming back to Instagram. I'm just fascinated by the...
I want this guy's brain. I really do.
He captures something about America, I think, very profound here. So I'm going to put this up. And
you can just read. I've seen it plenty of times.
Yeah. So this is upscale luxury. It's beautiful to be alone. So this is like, I don't know what this place is. So it looks like some kind of giant window out into an ocean, maybe, and everything's sort of light beige, tan. 2 chairs and like a pool of tan pillows that doesn't look comfortable at all. I can't imagine actually sitting on it. And then the best part
Matt,
of
just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just so you know, and thank you everybody for joining us. But this is a little sneaky secret public post game for everybody.
oh,
out
did I
there.
accidentally made this public? Whoops. Well, enjoy it, guys.
Welcome everybody. Yeah, Matt and I are feeling very generous tonight.
Yeah, exactly. That's celebrating 800 patrons. But if you're not a patron, just know that we're gonna hunt you down.
Matt's looking out for you.
Yeah, we actually got all your names on a list. YouTube tells us who's anyway. So yeah, so welcome. People who don't know who Upscale Luxury is, because we talked about them in a post game. It's just one of these accounts that does a lot of cool like luxury shit. And I just want to read this.
This guy, no, I'm sorry. Can I just set this up for people a little bit?
Yeah.
This guy goes on Google, and I don't know what he searches, but he just looks for shitty rich people's house interior, right? And then he makes underneath these pictures of a rich person's house these insane paragraphs about success. And I have to say, this one doesn't touch on it, but most of them are about not letting your friends dissuade you from your dreams, right? Which is very funny to me. Look, we're all on the same kind of page. We're all just sort of, grinding and working and stuff. I do not have conversations with my friends about my dreams or aspirations ever. And it's very funny that a big focus of this guy's posts are don't let any of your friends squash your dreams, I just can't imagine what his day-to-day conversations with his boys are, where constantly he's having his friends tell him, you'll never be, I don't know what the hell he even wants to do. Right.
Right.
He's constantly being told by his friends that you're not going to achieve your dreams. And he's constantly then going on Instagram afterwards and then making really long Tumblr posts about don't let negative people in your life, which is, I don't know. It's very funny to me, but I want this guy's brain. I really do need that kind of view of the world.
I love it. I mean, I love the pictures of the just outrageous interiors that make me want to chain myself to the IRS so they start enforcing taxes. And also it's really on the captions. So let's get to this one and we'll maybe get to a couple more because I'm addicted to this shit. It's beautiful to be alone. To be alone does not mean to be lonely. It means the mind is not influenced and contaminated by society. Again, I great, just beautiful.
That's
stuff.
awesome, man. I'm sorry. That's just so awesome.
And,
do you feel that way when you're alone?
I'm no longer contaminated by society. When I'm alone, I'm merely contaminated by NBA 2K21 and podcasts, basically. Here's another one. This is Dave, you won't be able to see this. You might want to follow along on the on the Upscale Luxury feed itself, but
okay.
This was it looks a pool and it looks out in, it might be on a ship, but once you get the ball,
I'm sorry, these houses are pretty ugly. I haven't seen this. Maybe this is an exception. It's really beautiful, but
no, it's all it's all gauche. Once you get the ball rolling with your life and goals, there's certain spots you can't hang out and certain people you can't run with anymore, no matter how much you love them. So we're getting ready to throw over some dead weight.
No, that's what I'm saying is this is a very passive aggressive blog for him, warning all of his friends.
Yeah.
That, once I make my million, I ain't going to hang out with you no more. I mean, that's essentially what this is. It's
I just want to read
amazing.
one more. This is we got a TV that looks like a pane of glass. And Upscale Luxury says, networking is so underrated. You could get rich just by having the right conversation with the right person. I mean, that's really good to know. I mean, this is just beautiful stuff. I love it. I mean, to be honest, networking is a little bit underrated. I think that's probably the main reason for the main thing that college does is put you in contact with other people who have a shit ton of money.
Are you kidding me? That's the 100%.
Yeah.
That's all that system's meant to do.
If you go there naive enough to think oh, I just want to expand my brain, you'll be told quickly by even your teachers that, hey, that's not what this is about. Find the powerful rich kids and be friends with them.
Which we need to let what's his name, Monsieur Holly.
Yeah, Monsieur Holly.
know that like that's what you really need to be doing instead of they ain't gonna find you on Instagram.
No, I mean, somebody might throw him some cash because that is like probably the best propaganda. That's better propaganda than most of like what AI
Oh
puts
no,
out.
this is like the most perfect stuff. I mean, I like Matt and I laugh at this, but it's like it's really beautiful stuff to watch.
It's because it is like it's insidious, but like it makes you laugh because
mean,
it's like a threat almost, like or like that
it's
like
like it's I mean, is it insidious? It's just like a great mirror of this insane ideology that we pump into most people's heads from the get-go. It's like, oh, well, the only thing keeping you from making $1 million
is your attitude,
is
your
your
loyalty to your
attitude.
friends.
And apparently for this guy in particular, his friends who seem to be, I don't know, very mean. My
Yeah.
friends tell me they have like, unless it's something insane, I'm pretty supportive of whatever the hell they say they're getting into.
I mean, you do get mad when I tell you, like, David, shouldn't probably buy that Maserati.
Man, I would really pay a lot of money actually to hear the conversations that he has with his buddies.
Yeah.
who are just like the constant villain in his Instagram stories.
Let's move to David Joshua Rubin.
Is that his middle?
I guess that's per Dave Rubin clips. Now I don't know if Dave Rubin clips is making a joke there, but it'd be a weird joke to just say Joshua is the joke name. But I wanted to put up this first before we get to the video of him, I guess, in a bar. But there's this tweet put out by Dave Rubin clips, and they captioned it "Wednesday Wisdom," and it has a quote from Dave Rubin that I think is very profound. What makes him the hero is he says, "I'm gonna go do it." Frodo, I'm going to take the ring back to Mordor. He didn't say, I'm a victim, somebody help me. Or especially, I'm a victim, let me get the government to help me. So I think that's just a nice sentiment from David there.
It's like mad poetry.
Like, I don't know, what the sort of type of government that the hobbits had. It seems to me that they have some kind of regulation on housing because all that shit looks the same. But
I'm sorry, like, Dave Rubin obviously is an idiot, and I don't aspire to be Dave Rubin, but it's another person that I do say, I wish I had that brain. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be like, because he does Lord of the Rings and Star Wars all the time as his metaphors.
And I think that why that works for them is because ultimately, like, they're going after kids and adults with the brains of kids. Like, it's one thing to say like we can try to appeal to people with like the history of socialists, but I think like on the other front, they're just getting in those slipstreams of culture, basically.
Well, I mean, I very much stand with Greg Turkington of when it does come to the argument that the Hobbit movies probably are some of the greatest cinematic marvels of our generation. But I hear what you're saying. The thing that's funny about Dave with all of this kind of stuff is that he used like this example of Lord of the Rings is very funny because, not to get too literal about this, but there is no centralized government of Middle Earth, right? There's a bunch of like you can't make the argument. Like, let's just take Dave, like, let's take this as a very serious intellectual argument, right? Which is how he's trying to treat it, right? There is no centralized government in Middle Earth. There are like warring war bands and some small communities, but there's no state, right? There's no social services. There's no police to call, right? Like, if you need something done as established in the movies, like, you have to throw yourself before a king or I can't remember the steward in Gondor, right? And hope that they show up maybe with the armed forces to help you out, right? Like, you can't call 911 in Rohan, right? Like, like it is very much like pre-state society. So to make that example on itself is just absolutely hilarious. Sorry, not to be too analytical about it, but it's just funny to to just be that stupid to sit here and be like, oh, well, these people Frodo's the hero because he's not reliant on the state to solve his problems. Like, well, there is no fucking state to solve his problems. I'm sorry. I probably would do the same thing. And also Frodo and Bilbo and all those characters probably would do the same thing if instead of having to travel across the goddamn continent, right, at great like danger to yourself and your friends, to your community, to destroy the evil ring of power. Yeah, I would rather just call I don't like unfortunately I have a big koi pond in my it's not unfortunate I have this, but I have a big koi pond in my my house here that I rent that came before me. And sadly, one of the 25 little fish died today. And I took the fish and I put it in the garbage can, right, wrapped up, and it's going to get picked up by the city. In the Dave Rubin sense of the world, I should take this thing and walk all across the city of Boston to the dump to throw it in, right? Because that's essentially what Frodo has to do, right? It's a long walk to throw some trash away.
Yeah.
So the wrong people don't care.
I mean, I think this kind of touches on an important point of why I'm averse to fantasy typically. Is like, I think what is the political economy of building the fucking Eye of Sauron? Like, right, what kind of like troll slave labor do you have to build? Or Minas Tirith, right? Like, who built that? Like, right? Like, was it magic? Like, you never really hear these stories. And it's another thing that bugs me about video games, which is like, it's always set in like a sort of like Elder Scrolls, you're going through runes, and you're never going into anything in the process of being built. Right? Like the actual labor to construct these worlds is always not included. And I think that has it's insidious when you train people to just think like this stuff just exists, right? Like to go back to our infrastructure.
Did you watch Kong vs. Godzilla?
I did watch
like the
that.
Big ass temple, like the underground towns, like the underground, like, yeah.
It's just like, oh, this just exists, right? And it's just like, I honestly think there's a parallel to draw between like how we're letting our infrastructure just fucking go to shit. Is because like, yeah, like Fallout is another example, right? Like, or any of this stuff. It's always like after the collapse.
That's such a, I'm sorry, man. This is such a funny criticism of fantasy. I also think this is a very, very funny post game that we've accidentally made public.
Yeah.
Because this is not very typical that we get into this kind of stuff. But I will say, your anger at the backstories, and so again, this is a post game, so I can't remember their name. But the writer of like Dragon Age, you know those video games? You ever play those?
I haven't, no. But
some of my favorites, actually, they're great games. But one of the main writers of it has like this whole thing about how video games aren't art and you can't consider them to be like a novel. Mm-hmm. And her main argument is, I can't remember their name, I'm sorry, but her main argument is because nobody reads the lore that we put out there for people to read. Therefore, like they don't understand how these things that what Matt is complaining about right now were built in the first place. But like, you know, we put it in like a book that you can like uncover if you go into a, you know, library level of the game or whatever.
Right. But that's
offloading the artistic... Nobody reads them. So these can't be considered art because nobody like understands the world building that we're doing. Yeah,
no, I mean, I guess on that topic, I think most of the video games I enjoy playing, I categorize more as a sporting experience than an artistic one. But that's funny because it's still offloading the artistic process onto the lore like releases, so external to the actual video game. But we're probably pissed off a lot of video game fans here. But
I wonder. No, people like Dragon Age. I mean, I love Dragon Age. One of my favorite games of all time.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've heard of that, but is that a PlayStation thing?
I mean, it's PlayStation and Xbox.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, have you ever played them before? They're really good. I'm serious. I mean, honestly, we've been trying to beef up our Twitch streams. I'm thinking about getting the Mass Effect. You play Mass Effect?
I played the original. I missed a lot of classes when that came out.
Wow. You know, that's funny. You played 1.
Yeah.
So I've only played 2, 3, and then the unofficial 4, Andromeda.
I might have dabbled in those, but 1 is the only one I played. Like,
well, they just released their Legendary Edition of all of them together.
Oh, that has all of them. I thought it was just the first one.
No, 1, 2, and 3. Which I've been thinking about playing. That might be a fun thing to do on the.
Yeah. Although
Reckoning Twitch stream.
Mass Effect is another one that has the problem.
Oh, that's one of the best. I'm sorry, that's probably one of my favorite video games of all time.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like the second and third ones.
I guess so because I didn't play one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I loved. I mean, man,
I just like, but like, I can appreciate one without even having played it because I appreciate like the world and the universe that like they're operating in.
yeah.
Right. Because you learn what happens in one when you play the other ones.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, one. I was a freshman in college, and I remember a lot of late nights listening to the Ricky Gervais XFM show, like basically to like 6 a.m, just playing video games as my roommate tries to sleep. Yeah. Anyway,
Let's give the people what they want.
let's give the people what they want. We're 40 minutes into the post game that we've made public. Dave Rubin, I have not watched this clip yet. I'm going to be reacting to it live. Let's just get at it now. Here it is.
Everyone, I'm at a Mexican restaurant in Dallas. I didn't wear a mask. My friends didn't wear a mask. They're all peeing right now. I'm the last one here. And then for some reason I was like, let me say hello to the people on Twitter.
Oh no.
Yeah, man. That's rough, ain't it? That's really rough.
We need to check on Dave, I think.
Well, then he talked to that one Yankee comedian whose name I can't remember, but who dressed himself up like in a full bodysuit. Did you see this? I don't know.
No, not familiar.
I only know shit about Dave Rubin because y'all sent it to me, and I appreciate that, honestly. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Dave Rubin interviews The Question. I don't know who that is, but that's the guy.
Or the quartering or the question?
I can find him in a second, but wait, let me get the reactions to that because that's really good, ain't it?
That's
That's
amazing.
a great video.
He is gone, man.
Well, he's definitely drunk in that video. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But man, how many friends do you think were in the bathroom? One? Like tops, right? Like one person pissed.
Yeah. I honestly,
I don't
I'd
think he
be
went to a restaurant by himself, but I do think
I'd be surprised if it was a friend though. I bet you like it was like a work colleague from the Blaze or something. And like they're like, all right,
it's like Dennis Prager.
Yeah, or like man.
Like Dennis Prager went to piss.
That is, I mean, I should find the Nathan Fielder meme.
I will say I 100% believe that Dave Rubin will move to Dallas because he don't have the balls to move to Austin.
Dude, he's got a huge mortgage with that house.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. He's not moving, is he?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know how hard it is to get out of those.
He's rooted for better or for worse
in a giant Hollywood mansion, or maybe
Michael Malice. I don't know if you know who that is.
Michael Malice is a fucking freak. I hate that guy. I mean, sorry to
so
get.
That's the guy who dressed up in a whole little getup for hanging out with him. But anyways, that's a very, very funny video. And I will say, as somebody who's in Texas, and I guess like I don't have the same protections that I usually do during the post game since this is public.
Right.
But look, man, I've been, I'm fully vaxxed now. I've been inside a couple times. It's nice. I'm not like freaking out about it and feeling any reason to like, I don't know.
I think
like to brag about it to people. Like, look, I mean, I'm just going to be like honest about it. Like, I don't like wearing the mask, and I did it because it's a good thing to do to help out folks. I'm very happy that things, are developing in a certain way where that is going to be less of a responsibility of daily life, right? But it's so pathetic how all of these guys make it into some like question of their freedom or whatever. It's like we just lived through a world historic event that affected not just people in California and New York and New Jersey and Texas, but people all around the globe. And we tried our best to make sure that the shit didn't get out of hand. And we failed, by the way, at that.
To the tune of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of deaths.
So like, there's like no celebration on the other side. It's just like, oh, you know what? The celebration, this is like, hey, it's nice. that there's enough vaccination and we have some opportunities to like go back to normal on like in some aspects of our lives, right? I think that's a good thing to be happy about. But to act like the thing that's funny about him is like he's acting like he's running through the end zone after scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole really pathetic kind of like baked Alaska thing going on these days with like, oh, I'm going to Trader Joe's and not wearing a mask and hoping somebody like confronts me, which of course nobody does because they just see a sad man. I don't know. It's just it's a goofy thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Ruben's, because yeah, you're right. He's in that competition with that baked Alaska stuff. So if you remember, like right before January 6th, like a week before, Dave Rubin got on his show and was like talking about Michigan governor mask stuff and said like, guys, watch V for Vendetta. We got to do something.
That's so. Did he really say?
He
that?
literally said, "Let's see if I can find that."
He's got no brain. It's like insane. Like, I mean, he is just a receptacle of like American like pop culture. So
Yeah. Let's see if I can find this really quickly. And then,
I don't know. I just think it's pathetic. Like, I will say, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I don't want to be like, I don't give a shit about the culture war stuff about it too much. I think it's annoying that it's become like a political statement. And obviously that started with the right wing. I do think some like liberals who are like, oh, I've been vaccinated and I'm on the other side. I'm still going to wear 3 masks when I go out in public forever. Like, I don't know. Like, are you guys the ones who are following science anymore? I don't think so. Like, I think you're sort of leaning into like, oh, this is my identity, my political identity. And I think that that's a bad thing.
I agree. And I also think just on that note, just real quickly, like the outdoor thing, I think we can be clear that like if you see somebody outdoors and they're not wearing a mask and not getting in your business, don't worry about them. Right. Like, right. Like, cause what we know about our outdoor transmission is it's exceedingly, exceedingly rare. And we do know that.
I'm just saying like, follow the science and like let that be your dictation, like what you follow, instead of letting politics be it. And the right definitely was the trailblazer, but I do think on the other side of like mass vaccinations, it's going to be very funny to see how liberals deal with it.
Because
it's like a lot of people have made it a part of their like being instead of a tool that we're using to prevent a mass pandemic.
Right. Yeah. Here's Dave talking about V for Vendetta.
And guys, watch V for Vendetta tonight. You know what? Maybe we'll do a RubenReport.com movie night. We've done a couple of these. If you join us at RubenReport.com, we all watch a movie together, and then we do a big live chat. Maybe we'll do a huge video chat as well. Maybe we'll just get a couple hundred people or something in on a big Zoom chat, because you need to watch V for Vendetta, and it's an incredible movie. And I think we're getting to the point where we're going to have to start doing some crazy shit, because these people are horrible and they want us locked in our houses forever. And the reason I mentioned V for Vendetta, it's very much about this sort of overreaching government thing. But one of the things that V says is that people should not fear their government. Government should fear their people. And we're just about there, guys. We're just about there. And if you happen to live in a freer state, God bless you, and you're smarter than I am, and maybe I'm on my way. Florida, how you doing? But you should care about this too if we are to...
He's still in California.
He's never lived in California, as Matt explained. He has an insane mortgage on his place that he can't sell. Damn, that's amazing. I will say, like, V for Vendetta is a fun movie. I remember I
enjoyed the shit. First movie I ever torrented, I will say.
There you go. But I will say that the government in V for Vendetta is not some kind of left-wing radical thing. In fact, if you remember, towards the end of the movie, they seduce a member of the clergy, right? Which very much makes clear that this is a more of a right-wing social conservative government than any kind of like left-wing Stalinist-style totalitarian state. But I know Dave Rubin, even though he likes to use these movies, doesn't spend too much time trying to figure out. Actually, what's so funny, because he talks about Star Wars a lot. When I was a kid, like I'm talking when I was like 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really understand what Democrat or Republican was, and I knew
everything
what?
that I.
So I accidentally played a Rubin thing. Go on.
I didn't know like the difference between like what a Democrat is versus a Republican was. And I thought that George Lucas was a Republican because they had a republic, right?
Hell yeah.
Right. I'm talking about like when I was like 5, right?
Right.
Um, but it's like Dave Rubin uses these like sources of media as as examples all the time to like cover in his life, and it's very clear that he has like a very surface level understanding of all these things too.
Yeah. I got one more Ruben clip for us to play. This is about, just his mask stance.
You know what? I'm going to make a commitment. Starting today, everything that I do in LA, and again, I don't go out that often, but everything that I do, any store that I enter, I'm not going to wear a mask. And if I'm told to wear a mask, then if I need to get in there, I guess I will. Like, I'm not here to start a riot.
So he's a coward, dude. Like, so funny. Oh, so you're just like every other fucking asshole out in the whole world, right?
Like, yeah, it's like he needs to start with that attitude of fucking A, I'm going to make a commitment. And then it's just the sensible thing, which is like, if a store tells you to wear a mask, wear a fucking mask and shut up about it. Like,
That's exactly what you should be doing.
Right. Like, I mean, the thing, yeah.
Only Dave Rubin could make like a very, very simple and reasonable adjustment that some people are making right now into like a political statement and act like he's being a rebel. Right?
Yeah.
Like all across the country, people are saying like, okay, I don't live in a very densely populated area. It seems very clear that outdoor spread is not a big threat. So I'm going to do what I think is a reasonable thing to do. When I walk into a building, I pop it on. When I walk out of the building, I pop it off. Like that's pretty much it. Unless I'm in a very unique situation where I'm outdoors in like a very crowded space. Right?
Yeah.
That's sort of like my feeling on these things. Only Dave Rubin could take the thing that like a vast majority of people are doing across the country and act like he's being a rebel for doing it. Instead of like, oh, you're doing the exact same thing that everyone else is doing and you're following the CDC guidelines on shit.
Yeah. I really love that. I love in 15 seconds you go from making a commitment to that commitment being
Just walking.
100% meaningless.
Not that we're encouraging Dave Rubin to be more of an, but the guy doesn't have the constitution to be in like a hyper asshole on these things. He's conflict averse.
Yeah, I mean he's just fanning the culture war, right? Like this isn't really about get into the stores without your mask. He's just trying to like gather the attention based on the struggle that people have.
Honestly, it's sad to watch. It's really sad to see.
Yeah, well, it's almost as sad as being at a Mexican restaurant by yourself and talking about how your friends are in the bathroom. In the bathroom.
All my friends went to the bathroom, says guys all the time across the United States of America.
Yeah, like a lot. Like
not to be annoying, but like I've never been in a situation where all my boys are like, you're out drinking and they're like, oh, it's time. We're like, oh yeah, 5 of us are going to the bathroom. You got to hang out here by yourself. Never.
The only thing you could think of if that happened is, oh, one of them brought cocaine. Like that's
you're being left out.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, I wouldn't blame his friends. Let's do some Discord questions, and we'll do a little bit more maybe checking with the IDW sphere. So the Discord, patreon.com/Left Reckoning if you want access to this beautiful Discord we've got created.
Honestly, the Discord is humming. There's some
really
great
is.
conversations going
on. Okay, so got quite a few here. Edwin, hi Matt. I recently read Touré Reed's Case Against Race Reductionism, and I loved it. It's so clear that the liberal erasure of political economy from politics addressed to help minorities has hurt this country and its minorities so much. Paint me a picture of what an America with a completed New Deal looks like to you. I mean, it's almost easier to talk about like a New Deal, right? Like, I think like the New Deal proper has been discontinued for decades at this point, but it would be what were the freedom from want, guaranteed job guarantee, those the healthcare, and frankly the things that are used to coerce people to labor being removed from the equation, I think would be a proper New Deal. And I think like, yeah, I don't know. What do you have to say on that, David?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think the fact is with the New Deal is that the political considerations that allow that to happen prevented it transcending what it was, if that makes sense, right? It's like because the New Deal, again, like I'm not one of these people who's against the New Deal. I think it's a good thing, but this was a way to placate and prevent any kind of more serious socialist or left wing like movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk, if you look, there's this book, The Lords of Creation, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it was written during the New Deal. And the register it's written in is shocking because it's all about how that free market capitalism experiment we've been trying for the last 50 years, isn't it great that it is entirely discredited now and we can actually get work with policies that are aimed toward like the public good. So yes, we are not in that. We're maybe entering like we say, like a type of Keynesianism or whatever like that. But we are not in a phase at all where people have, you're starting to see a little bit of it fall with regards to like IP, with the IP waiver and like the idea that we're just going to trust market dynamics entirely, like, as played by the oligarchy to deliver. But we're just not there yet at all. And we're going to... we'll need a Great Depression type of collapse on top of the pandemic. I think we're quite a ways from that. But hopefully we'll move towards something like that. And we aren't coming from quite, I don't think, as a reactionary position as like the Jim Crow South being part of the coalition that passes it. Hopefully there's less of an excuse if we can ever get the public pressure to make those kind of demands again, that it won't be along the sort of racial and patriarchal lines that it was.
Exactly.
Let's do another one here. Edwin, this is for David. What was Lenin like as a leader of the Soviet Union? I'm familiar with the ups and downs of the Bolshevik Revolution and Lenin's theoretical contributions to Marxism, but not so much what his actual leadership looked like. He told me about learning more about him through calling him the FDR of socialism.
Well, the term is the other way around. That FDR is Lenin of capitalism. And what that point means is that Lenin was a Marxist through and through, but he was not somebody who was so indoctrinated that he couldn't deal with the world as it was. What I mean by that was Lenin's introduction of the new economic policy, where Lenin recognized the fact that Russia, as it was before the revolution, was an extremely agrarian society. And to transition to socialism, you needed to capitalize, to introduce capitalism into large aspects of production there. A lot of the society, not just because, we're following the framework of these things, but understanding the Marxist point that socialism flows out of capitalism, which is that capitalism is a necessary state of affairs to allow production to reach a point where it can be socialized, right? This is when people always get confused about Marx. Like, when people say like, Marx praised capitalism. Well, Marx praised the revolutionary aspect of capitalism because it destroyed the old rights and superstitions of aristocracy and monarchy and thinking, the bloods makes, the system work. The divine right of kings that comes from God. Like, you very much revolutionized society in that way. And to be able to produce at the level that's needed for future societies, social societies, you have to go through a period of capitalist development, right? Lenin, in his very early days, recognizes that they need to have this kind of development to create socialism, and introduces the new economic policy. And there's a lot to learn from Lenin, but I think this is a lesson I think a lot of people should spend time with Lenin. Some of that Zizek actually praises a lot too. Was it like, Lenin, as being as much of an anti-capitalist as he was, understood that there is a social role to play for introducing market relations to creating socialism. And the new economic policy is an example of that. It's like, okay, so we're going to allow small scale, very, very much monitored and controlled capitalism to develop, but basically saying like we can't implement top down this development on society, which I don't know is like one of the things I think is very interesting about Lenin as a thinker and a figure. Like no one could ever accuse Lenin of not being a communist or a Marxist. I'm sorry, I just think it's absurd to ever say that about him. But this is somebody who also understood his role as like a kind of custodian or steward of the working class revolution in the Soviet Union. And the historical tragedy of Lenin is that he dies. Like he dies really early on. And everyone knows the stories about Lenin warning about Stalin, all this other stuff. And I think that stuff is genuinely true. But it's just like, Lenin's a very fascinating historical character who delivered this incredible revolution, delivered a very interesting early stage of it, and then just dies.
Yeah, damn. Kowalski from Nebraska. Speaking of Gates, 250 acres of land along the Platte River, a mile from my farm, was bought by an obscure company that looks like a shell company for a billionaire or a company. This is going to screw with the local crop land rent rates. Yeah, I mean, we got to do something about the buying up of all the land. Absolutely. Dave from Jamaica. I think Dave Rubin missed the point of the Lord of the Rings. It was called Fellowship of the Ring. The dude literally asked for help. How did he miss the point of the movie for teenagers? That is true. It is definitely a social enterprise where you need a whole lot of people with different experience and skills to get you past. And literally like trans or cross, not even racial, but like they got elves and orcs and we're actually aren't the orcs, aren't they like anti-Semitic or something like that? Or I can't remember. There's some.
Well, the right wing has made it really fucked up.
Oh yeah,
because they started using that as like a, yeah. Do you not remember this? It's really nasty. I really don't even want to bring it up, but like they were using this as like arguments against folks. Like, oh, the orcs are like the invading force coming into society.
Oh God. Kowalski again, Matt and David, get me a t-shirt size and a P.O. box. I got some fresh Kowalski Family Farm shirts that need a good home. That's awesome.
Stoked to have that.
Forbidden, what do you fellas think about the UFO stuff that is being reported on? I'll let David go first because I've opined on this a lot.
Oh, I'll go first, but I'm more curious about your take on it. It's like, I don't know, man. I think that there are some points to be made that if the U.S. government had serious intel that there were UFOs here, they wouldn't be treating it as cavalier as they seem to be doing from these most recent leaks. But that doesn't mean that it's not serious stuff. I do like my favorite kind of take on this is a little bit of an anti-human take, I have to say, which is that why do you think they care about being caught? Like if you're a super advanced alien society and you're visiting Earth for whatever reason, like why do you care if we notice? I played enough sci-fi video games to know that whenever I encounter a primitive society, I don't give a shit about them. If they have resources on the planet that I want, I take them. And if they don't have anything, I move on.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
to go the Dave Rubin style of thinking about the world and politics.
Yeah. It seems so clearly like the Pentagon it finds it opportune to create a spectacle. My stance on UFOs has always been affect my life. It's actually the same as my stance on blockchain. Like I want to see this happen. And if all of a sudden something in my life is massively expedited by this, then I'll start to believe in it. Or like my date, like one day it's like, holy shit, there's a fucking alien. But like this is not wonder. This is like when people say like, let us enjoy wonderment. It's like, I don't want my wonder to be prescribed by releases from the fucking Pentagon, because I think probably that is some great power bullshit where actually people, the people have an idea of what it is. It's some kind of technology or some kind of artifact or whatever the fuck, right? Like it's not aliens. Aliens aren't here. I'm sorry. They're not visiting Earth. Look, I'll be glad to be wrong, but I just, it's like the idea that this is Martians is like, it's almost too much. I don't know. Like, I'm a guy who was a big X-Files fan in the 90s, and like looking back on that, it now, like, I think of that and like the Satanic Panic as like just soak up attention for people who like, right,
Yeah.
like from away from real stuff.
I don't know, man. Like, it's definitely interesting. I can't wait to make contact with the aliens if we ever get to, but
I just feel a little bit burned about this because like this was my main early internet activity was going. I remember like sci-fi.com/happens, which apparently purported to show real videos, but they were all like made up. But like I loved going on YouTube or like Snopes looking for like, is this a UFO video? That's just great. And then you realize like this isn't it. Like this footage is not going to prove this shit to me.
no, of course not. And like, yeah, I think we both are on sort of agreement on this.
But I will say on the other front, Corey Pine does good coverage of the issue. So if you want someone a little bit less cynical than me, I'd redirect you to Corey Pine. Let's do a couple more, and then we'll do this this cancellation of this AP reporter.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Let's see here.
I got one right here.
Go for it.
From Samantha. I have, like everyone here, been getting depressed about the tragic killings of Palestinians by Israel. I gave what I could to a Palestinian charity and downloaded an app that will help me boycott Israeli-made goods. What other avenues are there to bring to help or bring justice to Palestinians? Well, I'll tell you, one, those are great moves. I think supporting BDS is very critical, and I should have brought that up during the opening segment on it. That is an incredibly important way that we can continue this struggle. Not just supporting BDS personally, but actually being very outspoken about supporting BDS. I will say, and this isn't a criticism of like Palestinian orgs or people who are doing this, I do find it to be a little bit unfortunate that there has been this opening on the Palestinian question, that BDS has not like risen to the forefront of these things. In general, I don't know where you are at, but there are still solidarity rallies. I know there's one here in Austin, I think at noon at the Capitol on Sunday. But, you know, there's still things to show up for. And there's also continuing to encourage politicians to do things. And also this, challenge people in your world. Don't go out of your way, right? Like I have an uncle who's big on this shit, and there's no reason for me to call him up and like, you know, confront him on it. But there are people who I talk to every day or I see constantly, who it's worth bringing up and like doing that kind of political work on just the general sense of like, what are these people in my community? These people I talk to, making them understand that this is a real thing. This affects them, and they have a responsibility to do something different. You know, do that in addition to the political work, I think.
Yeah, I think the other thing, I like you mentioned, I think on the issue like this, it really helps to call your local representative. You think they might be at all on the side, or if they've made a statement in support of Palestine, you need to reward them for that. And like, at least that their staffs know that public sentiment is one way entirely on that. And that's good. And then the other thing is I want to see, like you said, BDS is important. And the other thing that I didn't know about, or I hadn't noticed in the news, I mean, the stories are a bit old, but you can donate, make tax deductible donations to charities that fund Israeli settlements. And that needs to be ended.
That needs to be axed immediately.
Immediately. That is so disgusting, particularly when you look at all the restrictions based on aid to Palestinians and how you basically like get defined as a terrorist.
You can't do anything on like Venmo, you know, blocks that.
Yep.
Venmo shit, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but it's amazing the stuff that Venmo blocks, man.
Yeah. I mean,
if you get like Iranian food, because I just know this because like I have, you know, Iranian family. Like if I go and I have like Iranian food and like I'm accidentally just like, oh, you know, $10, thanks, you know, for the food. Venmo will block your transaction because you list Iran in there.
That is insane.
And it's just as bad with Palestine.
Of course, yeah. That's insane. yeah. So yeah, I would, but on these foreign policy issues, it probably helps more than on a typical issue, I think, to get into your representative's ear, because like on some, I don't think they care, but I think like, yeah, you need, I think that's the only other thing I'd say. Yeah, let's talk about this AP journalist.
Well, before we get to that, just real quick, I want to say to folks who are just joining us, you are witnessing an accidental but free post game for the public.
We're gonna unlist it as soon as it's over. So
consider consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/leftreckoning. But happy you're here and happy to hang out with all of y'all tonight.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is Emily Wilder. Story of Emily Wilder. I'll just put up this tweet quickly by Peter Stern, because it's sort of the basic gist, which is, I support it's VV1LDER, the young journalist who conservatives are now trying to get fired from the AP because she was part of Students for Justice in Palestine in college.
Insane.
More detail on that. Actually, let me go get out here. This is from Ryan Mack. Tweet says, the AP fired a junior reporter over a bad faith tweet thread that ended like this. So here's from the Stanford College Republicans. When our club hosted at Ben Shapiro on November 19th, current Associated Press employee Vivi Wilder, or I don't know why I pronounce it like that, Wilder, penned an op-ed in the at Stanford Daily referring to Ben Shapiro as a little turd. I'll just read the context. There's no shortage of think pieces on why Ben Shapiro is a little turd. And so Emily said that she asked, the editor said I was not going to get in any trouble because everyone had opinions in college. And then came the rest of the week. And then I can't find the quote off here, but basically they didn't want to tell them. Oh, I asked them, please tell me what violated the policy. And they said no, of course. Because that policies aren't really what drives these decisions. I'm
sorry, are you kidding me with this? Was there any other media you had? I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all I have for this.
Are you kidding me with this? I mean, this is just so absurd. And is so nasty. And I'll take the point here. This is, cancel culture. No doubt about it. This is right-wing cancel culture. It's exceptionally disgusting. An organization, one that has been already targeted by the Israeli military and like it has to go without saying. To come at somebody, there's no problem with their reporting. Are they lying? Are they doing anything that's uncouth? No. Oh, you found something out about this person's history and their political perspectives, right? Absurd. Do you think the AP is firing reporters for being a member of, Friends of Israel or whatever? I can't remember what the equivalent of I
think that's right.
SJP is in college, but you know what I'm saying? Like, are they firing people for that? They're not. They're not. I mean, sorry, it's like somebody is deciding when they are, in their youth. I was a member of SJP, right? That they want to stand with people who are facing apartheid, with people who are living in an open air prison, with people who don't have control over their own borders, with people who are being bombed day in and day out by the Israeli Air Force. Oh, they can't be reporters anymore? Give me a fucking break. I mean, it's absurd and it's evil and it's something that we should not accept as Americans. I'm sorry to be like a little, American centric about this, but I'm sorry, like if you believe in these ideas of free press and democracy and things like that, you think that somebody shouldn't be allowed to do journalism because they recognize that people are being abused. I don't know. It's just like it's insane to me that this is even acceptable for some people. I understand the hardliners who are going to say, well, this is good, but they're, those people are lost, right? But to any normal person, do you not see that this is insane? This stifles real journalism, that this stifles information coming out from. You want every person who's reporting on Gaza to be a fervent anti-Palestinian?
And I mean, this is the free speech issue, I think, of the time. Like, there are 35 states in this country that have anti-BDS legislation
Yes.
on the fucking books.
Yes.
Like, I'd be curious what
Yes.
other topic is controlled like that. And then I also find this all this focus on we're doing apartheid because of what Hamas thinks. Right, like we're going to drop bombs on and cause scores and scores of civilian casualties because of what a certain number of people in this community think. That is the explicit justification for what's going on in Israel, and I just find it so interesting how Israel tries to, like, you see Israel supporters, defenders trying to play both sides of this, saying that on the one hand wokeness is attacking us, on the other hand this is the pro-gay democracy in the Middle East, right? And I mean, I honestly think like these discussions, why they're so fraught is because you have great powers using them as propaganda vehicles.
No, I mean, I think you're 100% correct on that. And I think just for people who are, casually watching this, this is another example of why BDS is a really important thing to be a part of, because they try like crazy to stop this shit. But I'm sorry, this is just a very clear example of how this is not even a fair, like, it's not a fair fight on the ground. I mean, like that literally, like the Israeli military versus Palestinians. And it's also not a fair fight in the media either. Right. Because somebody just being a part of a college group, this fundamental goal is just to make sure that people's human rights are respected. Is getting fired from their job. Give me a break. Right. This is not, again, to go back with how we started the public part of the show. This is not a symmetric conflict.
Yeah.
At all. When somebody is getting fired for showing some support for Palestinian people, somebody whose job, by the way, today is to live in Gaza. Name another country where having any sympathy for the people who living in the community that you're covering is a fireable offense. Do you think they're firing people at the AP from Rome because somebody, is a fan of Italians? I mean, come on, This is absurd. That caring about people is a political offense should make it very clear to people the dynamics that are at play here.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, I think it's good that this dam broke at long last, that you can call this an apartheid project.
Thank God.
But yeah, like the next step is to stop penalizing journalists for being clear about that. And not because they talk about a chilling effect, for Christ's sake. Like, what does this say to every other journalist about just acknowledging the reality that we're seeing?
It says exactly the kind of fears that I had when I joined SJP. And this is not like me like patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, like, I remember when I was doing this and thinking to myself, like, okay, this is a career killer, right? And I'm not saying this is like, oh, I'm so fucking moral or anything like that. I'm saying it shouldn't be that case. And we're being proven that that is the case today. And that's a problem. And that's not something that we should accept.
Yeah.
Honestly, regardless of where you feel on these things, do you think that this is okay? Do you think that this is like a example of a functioning democracy, of a functioning media system? Come on, man. This is very clear what's going on. It's absurd. It's evil. It's wicked. And in my opinion, it's supporting an apartheid regime. And it's something that the AP, after having their fucking offices bombed, is absurd that they're placating to this shit.
Yeah.
Reminder of a couple things. If you're in college, join SJP. If you're not in college, support BDS, because BDS is very effective. The reason they're so fixated on trying to stop it is because it is effective. Yeah.
And I would just say, as to the quote free speech activists who are on the Israeli side of this, like Barry, I think the reason, like when you hear, say, Steven Pinker talk about all these people who have these opinions that they're just afraid of expressing.
Yeah.
I contend that some of these opinions are that they are acceptable with the application of cruelty to populations for the benefit of different empires.
What else can you call this shit?
Yeah. On that fun note, I think.
Well, before we go,
yeah,
I mean, unless you had something else,
I'm good.
Before we go, people are listening. tomorrow night,
Oh,
11
yes.
p.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be joined. We're going to be joining our friends and comrades at the Labor Valley Report to support this incredible historic strike in Alabama that has been going on since April. 1,100 workers not only are striking against cruel treatment at the job, have been facing a very clear anti-union campaign, a campaign of not just scabs taking people's jobs and, as we talked about last week, polluting the environment, but scabs showing up at people's houses in the middle of the night, scabs ripping up signs, people trying to intimidate folks on the picket line. This is a critical fight, not just for these people's livelihoods, but for a future where workers have much more control over their lives, have much more control over the resources that we are pulling from the land, which is something that, if you believe in a Green New Deal or all these things, you should want working people to be in control of these things and not Wall Street corporations.
Right.
So not to get too heated, join us tomorrow because it's going to be a fun time. Matt and I are going to be hanging out, probably having a couple beers. Matt's been talking about maybe bringing out his guitar. Might be a fun time. Maybe
It's not going to happen.
too.
I don't want to make any promises.
No promises on that, but we'll be having a fun time, relaxing, hanging out.
We're going to stream it. I'm going to try to stream it on our Twitch and YouTube feeds too. But
we'll try to put it on here, and if not, it will be on for sure on the Valley Labor Reports channel. But also, throughout the day, they're going to have Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, Randy Bryce, and plenty of other really exciting folks. Sam Cedar, Matt's boss and friend.
Kim Kelly, I think, too.
I'm sure. I mean, they got like a
so
list
many,
that
yeah.
will blow your
Hamilton
mind.
Nolan, yeah.
This is a really exciting thing, and show up, hang out with us tomorrow. Also, donate if you can.
Cool. And freebies, subscribe at patreon.com/leftreckoning. And we will see you all next week.